It's an interesting time for business. Tariff and trade policies are dynamic, supply chains are squeezed, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you are in a little bit of hurt. So how do you get full visibility and adapt in real time? Over 42,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle, your AI-powered business management suite. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. NetSuite is the #1 cloud ERP for a reason. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. Real-time forecasting helps you move into the future with confidence, and with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. You spent months building towards launch day, but when the clock hits 0, your site crashes. Bots swarm, and loyal fans rage on Reddit. That's not good. Fanfare was built to stop that. Fanfare is the drop platform made for high-pressure moments, stampede-proof infrastructure, verified waitlists, and bot filters that actually work. Instead of refunds and rage, you get retention and revenue. And that sounds great to me. Your next launch shouldn't be a gamble. Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook and learn how to bulletproof your drop at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, that's fanfare.io/playbook. Congrats, your business is doing great. All your hard work is paying off, but you need help like now, and you have to hire fast. How can you hire amazing candidates quickly? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. And with sponsored jobs, your posts jump to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. One of the things I love most about Indeed is that it has one of the largest databases of job seekers, giving employers access to a wide range of candidates. And with job alerts, I get notified when new candidates apply. And with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. So how fast? Well, in the minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/smartpassive. Just go to Indeed.com/smartpassive right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/smartpassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. This is the Smart Passive Income Podcast with Pat Flynn, session number 232. Here we go.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. He spent 2.5 hours reeling in a yellowfin tuna. Pat Flynn.
While DIY website tools are everywhere, most fall short on design and performance. Hit publish. Framer ships your site worldwide in seconds. No code, no compromises. Framer is a powerful, user-friendly platform that delivers developer-level results without writing a single line of code. Make your designs move and convert with Framer. Framer brings your site to life with powerful animations, dynamic content handling, and a design-first approach that helps your site stand out. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. Browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something of your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, scroll and looping animations, and much more in seconds. And it's free to start. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting of generating starter layouts and can even translate your entire site to any language. On the back end, you'll get responsive breakpoints, built-in hosting, a flexible CMS, and privacy-friendly analytics. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. Running a business means legal questions are inevitable. Is this contract or agreement solid? What can I do if a client won't pay me? Am I set up properly for taxes? Well, rather than trying to navigate all of this on your own or searching endlessly online, imagine having a law firm on your side without the high hourly rates. That's exactly what Legal Shield's small business plans offer. With Legal Shield, entrepreneurs get access to real legal support, contract reviews, collection letters, guidance on business formation, and even help handling IRS audits. Members can book consultations, upload documents through the app, and work with a provider law firm that understands small business laws in your state. You also get proactive help on tax and trademark questions so you can stay ahead of legal risks. And if a client delays payment, Legal Shield can send professional collection letters to help you recover what you're owed, all for a fraction of what traditional attorneys charge. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for being here, seriously, and taking time out of your day. If this is your first time listening in, welcome, and please subscribe because we've got a lot of great content coming. And if you're coming back to the show, thank you because you guys are what keep me going, for sure. So keep the comments coming, keep the words of encouragement coming, and keep the suggestions coming for guests, too. This person who was on the show today was actually suggested to be a guest, and without him knowing that, he actually reached out to me too because he had a great success story to share. So I wanted to bring him on. Actually, we've been in contact with each other for a number of years now. So I'm really excited to introduce Lucas Hall from landlordology.com, which has a really interesting story about how he built this site to become sort of an ultimate resource for landlords out there, which I'm actually getting really interested in because in addition to building my online business, I'm actually going to be starting to build a sort of a real estate portfolio over the years here. So probably be talking about that on the blog too, since that is passive income in a way, obviously. So Landlordology has become a big interest to me, and Lucas Hall is the man, and we're going to talk about how he actually built that site and how he was approached for the purchase of the site, and he did sell it. So we're going to talk all about that, and we're going to get right into it right now, as well as some tips for how you can build what we like to call the ultimate resource in a particular niche. So here we go. Lucas, what's up? Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Pat. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
This is going to be really fun. I have spoken to you before about your story, but I'm personally really excited to get into the deep details of it. So before we get started, why don't you tell everybody, if somebody were to ask you, Lucas, what do you do? What is it that you do right now?
Sure. My official title is Chief Landlordologist at Cozy, and that is a fun title that we were able to make up ourselves. That doesn't happen a whole lot, but essentially what that means is I give rental advice and I help others be more profitable and run a better rental property business. And that started out with a site called Landlordology that was a resource that I created, and just out of a kind of a need for myself to learn, I thought, well, I could dump my information and what I was learning and how I was proceeding through my business. I could take that and turn that into an ultimate resource. So right now what I'm doing is I'm working at Cozy, and Cozy is the company behind Landlordology, and we make rental property software for landlords. So not only do we teach them how to be better, but we also give them the tools to do it.
This is very cool. So you started with Landlordology, and it was just kind of a personal site that you had that you were just sharing tips on and whatnot, things that you were learning along the way?
It was. It kind of came out of my frustration with a lack of resources out there to answer the questions that I had. I was getting started as a landlord, and I guess my story a little bit is that I was working as a government contractor, and then on the side, I was building up a portfolio of rental properties. And I actually originally bought my first rental property to impress a girl. I liked her. I met her, I would see her once a week or so. And I asked her one day if she, how she was doing and what she did last week. And she goes, oh, I bought a house. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's smart and pretty, and I want to get to know her better. So I did the next logical thing, and I just hired a real estate agent and said, I want to go buy a house in her neighborhood that's a little bit bigger than hers.
Oh my gosh. This is amazing.
I want to be able to walk to her house.
This is amazing.
So I did, and we bought a house in her neighborhood. I was 7 blocks away, and next thing you know, we were dating. So and then shortly, thereafter, three years later, we got married.
Wow,
so,
are you serious?
Yeah, she turned into my wife, and
dude,
we have a beautiful little baby girl.
I didn't know if this was going to work out or not, because that's kind of weird. But dude, that's a wow. Congratulations. That's so now you guys both have rental properties, I guess, together.
We do. We do. I like to say that if diamonds are a girl's best friend, real estate is a close second.
Oh man, Lucas, I love you even more right now. This is so funny. But anyway, so as you were building your real estate business, and managing your portfolios, just trying to learn this space. You created landlordology.com after that. And, what platform did you create it on? Was it just like a WordPress blog?
It was. I went and got a WordPress theme from Studio Press and loved them because they had a great SEO optimization platform. And I thought, WordPress is great. So, I mean, you know WordPress, and it just runs itself in a lot of ways.
And then for that particular site, when did you start to see traction on that site? About how long after you started it?
It took about 2 months. I mean, I remember the nights where I'd go to bed and check my stats right before, and I'd look to my wife and I'd say, I got 7 visitors today. It was so exciting. And but shortly thereafter, I mean, it started multiplying, and it was roughly about a 30% month-over-month growth. And I started seeing some real publicity and some traction just a few months in. But it was getting to the point about a year into it that I was dumping content, quality content, as fast as I can. And that was roughly about 2 to 3 times a week. And I was just writing about my experiences and making relationships, but it started becoming something that I couldn't do just on the side anymore. It's very time consuming, and you know that. I mean, blogging and writing to do it well, it takes a lot of time. And I was doing it at night and doing a full-time job during the day. And so about that time, I started being contacted by larger companies, and they started taking notice, and one of which was a company called Cozy. And at the time, they weren't very large. They were actually just starting out around the same time I was. Mm-hmm. And what they were doing was just making rental software, and they were giving it away for free. And so they were actually trying to help improve the landlord-tenant relationship through software, and I was trying to do it through content. I really just had a heart to educate and teach people how to be better, because I thought the landlord-tenant relationship, and I probably speak for a lot of people who've ever rented before, just was very broken. It just was hurting, and there needed to be something out there. So they were doing what I was doing, just they were delivering it differently. Mm-hmm. And it just made sense to partner up, and then we worked through an acquisition where they took possession of all the assets, and I jumped on board with Cozy as a full-time employee, and have continued to press our mission, ever since.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd love to get more into that acquisition story, but before that, let's talk a little bit more about Landlordology. And still curious to know, you said 2 months after you started to gain a little bit of traction. How would you define traction, and also how did it really happen? Was it just kind of organic, or were you guest posting? What were your traffic building strategies at that point?
Right. I was new to content marketing, completely new, and so I didn't know a lot of the strategies out there. But what I did know was that if I produced quality content, mm-hmm. shareable content, things that people really wanted to read and they actually learned something from, I had a hunch that Google would reward that, and that Google would put that on the first page, and I would start to get just general organic SEO traffic, and I hit the nail on the head. So if I put something out there that people would want to read, then Google would put it up front, and that's exactly what happened. So 97% of all of my traffic back then was organic, and even now it's in the 90s. It's a little lower, but it was all organic. And when you would search for something like renters, I mean, I would be right there. So I was competing with some of the largest companies out there, even legal websites that were giving legitimate legal advice. And I wasn't a lawyer or an attorney, and I was just a landlord sharing my experiences. But people loved it.
That's really cool. I think people love it also because you're coming from a perspective of somebody just like them. They're looking for information, and they find it from somebody who is maybe just a little bit further ahead than they are. I think this really speaks to the fact that we don't necessarily have to have that degree or be a complete expert in order to truly help people and gain traction in whatever niche we're trying to get into and provide value for, right?
That's right. And one of the quotes that I don't know if you made this up or if it was something that you heard, but the riches are in the niches. And, I took that and I applied it to Landlordology, and I thought, well, what could I do that was different? Like, what could I do about this site that was unique to where somebody would want to come back? And I looked around, and one of the struggles I had as a growing landlord was that I couldn't find the state laws that I needed to know in order to be in compliance with the requirements. So mm-hmm. what I did is I said, I'm going to go down this road of once a week, I would research the state laws or the statutes for all the states in the country. And I would look at the actual statutes. I mean, boring legal language. And I would read through them and I would summarize them into an easy to read, like maybe 2-pager, above a blog post, maybe 1,000 words, and I would link to the statutes. And so there were dozens of other sites out there that claim that they are posting a summary of the legal guides or what the laws were about security deposits and such, but none of them ever linked to the actual statutes. And so the statutes would update and then they would change, and you never really knew how updated the information was. So there was no quality control. And I thought, well, let's just link to it and make a definitive resource. Let's put something out there that no one else has. And sure enough, I mean, to this day, those state law summary pages are still the number one source of traffic that I get. I mean, that's 3 years later.
I love that. So basically what you did was you created what I like to call an ultimate resource for a particular audience type. I've done this before on securityguardtraininghq.com. It's interesting. It's very similar in the fact that, I had found during my research while building that little niche site for security guards that every state had a different set of requirements to become a security guard. And at first, I think a lot of people are going to react in a very similar way when they come across like oh man, there's 50 different things I have to do and it's going to be a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Whereas you, and then with me, with securityguardtraininghq.com, we were like, okay, this is an opportunity to actually build something useful that will be extremely helpful for people and actually turn the website into something that becomes the one-stop shop no matter where you're at. And that's exactly what you did. I love that approach. Can you talk more about how Landlordology is that sort of ultimate resource? And again, all this information is free out there, right? It wasn't behind a membership site or a paywall or anything, right? It was like completely free for everybody.
You're right. Yeah, it was completely free. And my intent when I first created it was, hey, I'll put as much as I possibly can. I'll give away all of the best stuff. And then I had plans at some point to start ramping up the affiliate relationships and maybe even do some advertising and generating courses. But before I could get to that, Cozy came along and said, well, hey, let's just acquire you and then you'll be the educational division of Cozy. And ever since then, it's always been free. Everything we've done, and we've actually I've now had the resources to put out even better content than I could have by myself, just because we have the backing of Cozy and the money there. So the resources are free, and it's always going to be free. And what we have on Landlordology is not only do we have the state law summary, so if you're ever a tenant or a landlord and you want to know if the other one is in compliance, you can go look it up, and it's real easy. And then we give rental advice. It's not legal advice, but it's tried and true best practices advice. We have a bunch of guides. We call them landlord guides, and they're really just an in-depth guide that you can download as a PDF, and that's completely free. We don't make you pay for that at all. It's a lot like the guides that you've given out, the one that you started with the exam. That it just you just gave it out for free because you didn't think anyone would pay for it, but we knew it would be high quality, and we just were like, you know what, we're just going to help improve the industry. So we've got those guides you can download on topics like rent collection and tenant screening and move in, move out, and how to handle all that properly. And then we even have a small little podcast where it's similar to your Ask Pat. And we just answer questions that people call in, and if it's applicable to a larger audience, we'll take it and run with it. So everything's out there, and we're blogging multiple times a week. And I now have a small staff of writers that help me too. So they blog, and they're industry leaders too that run their own blogs, but they contribute to our website. And I'm happy to have them because they each have their own little expertise, whether it's mortgages or do-it-yourself repairs and all that, anything that a landlord might need. So It's really becoming a true ultimate resource, and it's truly free, and it's deep.
I love it.
It's growing.
It really is serving the audience quite well. I feel you've gotten all the angles in there, and you've been able to grow over time too. And I'd love to learn more about the acquisition. So when Cozy came by, was it just an email? Was it a call? I want to know the story of how this all kind of went down.
It all started with a tweet. I feel like that could be a movie title.
Yeah. Started with a tweet, yeah.
Started with a tweet. So it all started with a tweet. They started sharing my content, and I thought, well, that's neat. And I went and I looked at their site because I didn't know anything about them. And I was digging into their company, and I saw that, okay, well, here's this group, this company that is trying to modernize and make the rental process more secure and make it easy, and then I start digging deeper, and I find that not only are they on this great little mission, but they went to Google and they told them about the mission, and Google said, well, we'd love to back you. And so they originally got their seed money from Google, and then since have gone on to get some of the best investors in the industry to help them along. And I thought, well, they're doing it right. Like, they get the idea, like they get the mentality that we're all in this together. We really need to help each other out. We really need to change the rental industry because, arguably our housing market is the backbone, in my opinion, of our small business and our economy in a lot of ways. And so if we can really get that under control and bring the housing market back to where it needs to be, then the rest of America will kind of follow suit. But that's another conversation. But Cozy reached out to me later. We were sharing tweets and we were just talking kind of through Twitter. And then Gino Zahn, the CEO, just sent me an email. He said, hey, listen, you got time for a phone call? And he just, I think in the first 20 seconds, maybe even 15 seconds of the phone call, he just said, I'd love to talk to you about acquiring the brand and hiring you to run it. And, he kind of had me there, and I thought, this is exactly who I'd want to help me with Landlordology and take it over and to take it to the next level.
When he presented that idea to you, what was your initial reaction? Because I don't know, when building Landlordology, if you wanted to continue to run things on your own, or if you felt like this immediately from the start was going to be a good partnership.
Well, I knew that I could make a lot of money off of Landlordology through passive income. I knew if I continued to do it, but I also knew at that point in the game, I was basically doing 2 full-time jobs. I was running at night, and my wife barely saw me, and we were getting ready to adopt a little girl from Ethiopia, and so there was this whole just my time is worth more than that, So I thought, well, I could continue to do it, but it's only going to grow so much with just me at the helm, right? I mean, I could outsource some stuff, but I really loved what Cozy was doing. They were truly trying to change an industry, and that doesn't come lightly. I mean, we're talking like Uber is changing the taxi industry. This is what Cozy is doing for rentals. I thought I could team up with them, and together we could take Landlordology and the mission a whole lot further than I ever could. So that was enticing to me, and that was something that let me work for Cozy and be at home. I actually work out of my house, and so I'm around my family all day, which is fantastic. And I'm, I basically told him, if you can match my DC salary and then acquire the brand, I'd love to make it work. And he just said, that's great, because we're in it for the long haul.
That's really cool. Well, they sound like a great company, and it sounded like a match made in heaven at the start. Was the negotiation easy, or was that how you presented it? You just wanted a match, and then because I think a lot of people would struggle with, well, how do you put a value on this blog that you've been writing, and maybe it's just starting to make some income. Like, typically when acquisitions happen, it's all based on the last 12 months or 18 months of earnings. Well, I think there's a lot more that happened here that kind of increase the value of the brand. Could you talk a little bit about, you don't have to get into specific numbers, but, was there a lot of back and forth? How long did it take to actually land on something?
It took about 3 weeks, actually. So we did go through some negotiations on the value of the website, because at the time I wasn't monetizing it. And so it had about 30,000 unique visitors a month, which, looking back now, it doesn't seem like much, but it felt like a lot at the time. And it certainly had some value, and the potential, seemed great. And so they were really buying the future of it. And so how do you really price that out? Right. And so I went through a couple different models of deferred value and like a 5-year plan of kind of, if I continued on this path, what is it going to be? Mm-hmm. And, I mapped that out and didn't share those with Gino, but had a financial planner look at it, and my actual brother who does the stuff with company acquisitions and mortgages and stuff, so had him look at it too. And so I used the resources that I had, and it came to a number, and then we worked kind of back and forth a little bit and got to the middle. So at the end of the day, I thought, is it worth it to me to have the freedom and the lifestyle that I need to be with my family and the daughter that I was adopting? So, it it was more than just money, and it was something that I was very happy to do anyway. So you got to look at everything. Life is just not all about the numbers.
Right, right. Oh, I love it, Lucas. That's very cool. I can tell that the mission to actually help this industry is real, and it seems like I said earlier, Cozy is a great company to help you do that. And so now that the site, now that Landlordology is still there, but as is Cozy, of course, can you share some numbers in terms of what traffic is like on Landlordology now, and also, what resources that you got from now working with Cozy were able to grow you to that number?
Yes. So Landlordology currently gets about 4 million page views a year. About 2.8 million people interact with us somehow on
awesome.
Landlordology a year. And these are all people that are either reading the articles and commenting or asking questions or teaching each other. I mean, a neat thing that I've seen happen on that site is that in the comment section, other landlords throughout the country will comment and provide input. I mean, it's kind of become a forum without us ever intending it to be a forum. So the community that has been developed there just organically never ceases to amaze me. It continues to grow about 18% month over month, and that's kind of the all-time month over month. So that's the average, and we've certainly had more months than that. But it reaches out, and what the things that certainly appeal to most people, I think, are the hot topic issues for landlords and tenants. For example, our articles about evictions certainly get a lot of traffic. Our articles about roaches, certainly get a lot of traffic, and articles about kind of oddball things that you don't necessarily think of. For example, what do you do with tenants if you sell a property? Do they have the right to stay there? These are all topics that really matter to the people in the equation, simply because we're dealing with housing. It's a core element that people need. We're not talking about just an ebook. It's something that people live in and breathe every day. Yeah,
very true, very true. In terms of the resources coming from Cozy, was there anything specifically after getting acquired that started to ramp up traffic quite significantly? Like, did you start to put advertising dollars because you had access to that into building Landlordology, or what, if anything, helped you get to that level, besides the obvious, like you said, the content and some of the most popular topics?
Sure. The most notable help that I received immediately after joining Cozy was the design first attitude. So Cozy is a design first company. Everything is focused on UX and that experience and making it as best as they can. But what they did is they said, well, Landlordology, you have a great site, but we're going to make it even better. So we immediately launched into a redesign, and we used Cozy's top tier designers that they had on staff full time. So I had access to them, and I worked with them daily, and we tweaked everything about it. It seemed like every day we'd go back to the drawing board a little bit, and it just was nice to have a professional design. It wasn't something that I was going to buy in a template store or even hire overseas, which it can work, but I knew that this was somebody that was working with me and had years and years of experience. So then we custom built the dev side of it. The engineering team that Cozy was using to build their product, they just dumped onto me, and they said, you can have this and just run with it. So I was able to make this site truly my own. And if I had to put a number on it, it would probably be about $60,000 worth of contractor help if I had hired that out separately. So that was just amazing. And to this day, the design that you see on Landlordology is still the design we had 2 years ago, simply
which is great.
Because the conversions are, they're so high that we're not changing it.
Right. What are the most important metrics that you're looking at with that site? You had mentioned conversions. Is that into email lists or something else?
So the main conversion we care about is really how much traffic is it driving to Cozy. It is a sign up generator for us. And so the idea being that if you educate people and you teach them to fish, they will also come back to you to buy the fish. And so that's my own analogy. But I think that you teach them and they build trust with you, and then they are able to come back to you and use whatever product you want. It's the same thing as if what you talk about, where you give out your best products and they'll come buy whatever course you're selling too. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the same. So we teach them how to be amazing landlords, and then they come buy the product to implement all the best practices that we teach them. And so we do track conversions. So Landlordology sends over thousands of people to Cozy every single month. And then of those, we get about an 8% conversion rate to where somebody's signing up and actually purchasing and using the tool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think there's a really good lesson here to be learned is that, sometimes a lot of us are great at content marketing, but not so much the product side. And then others are great at creating products, but not so much the content side. And, it doesn't have to be all you. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned here from this acquisition that we're hearing about. And so, Lucas, if you could speak on that, perhaps, if somebody wanted to do what you did, wanted to build an ultimate resource, or maybe they're building it right now and they have yet to have a company, like it was very fortunate that tweet that kind of started everything, but could someone, I don't want to say force this, but make these kinds of opportunities happen for themselves too? And if so, what tips would you have for them?
Yes. So if you are building an ultimate resource, I would suggest that one, you make it better than everyone else's. I mean, truly have something in there that is different. It separates you apart and it is better than everyone else's. It doesn't have to be the whole site. I mean, for example, I started with just the state laws. I thought, well, this is one thing that could be really useful. And it, when I was getting started, it got featured on Lifehacker, just that one little portion, so you have something that people can take note of and they can explain your site in like, half a sentence really. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to reaching out to people, if you're looking to go the acquisition route, which I didn't know if I wanted to when I started, but it's an option for an exit, then find the other people in the industry that you think might be a good fit. I mean, when I looked at Cozy for the first time, I actually thought, without having talked to them at all, I actually thought, well, if anybody were to ever buy my site, I hope it would be somebody like them, because I just liked what they were doing too. So, reach out to them, share tweets with them, connect with them, and just build that relationship and build that trust so that when it comes time that they might have a new round of investing, or they might have, they might be doing well with revenue and they're looking for ways to grow, they think of you. I mean, in my case, Gino flat out told me, he's like, listen, we're going to build a content marketing division, and we want to educate the industry, so we can either do it with you or we can do it without you, but either way, it's going to happen. And I as nice as he was, that's the truth. And I think that he had a choice. He could build it, which would cost money, or he could take what was already succeeding. And I think that that's where you want to be. You kind of want to be at that top of a very short list where there's a need,
Right. And then in terms of what that deal might look like and what your life might look like afterwards, I mean, I know that you put a lot of thought into, well, this is what I wanted, this is how I want to live. I mean, you're working from home and you're still able to do those things. I just want to touch a little bit on awarding, I guess I could say, because a lot of people, they do see these opportunities, and sometimes they bite at the first one just because it's the first one. Is there anything that one could look out for? Let's say that they're getting some interest from other companies. How do you know which ones are the best ones to look at? How do you know if it's the right fit for you, and not just your business, but kind of your life?
Well, the deal that you structure is going to be unique. And so you have a voice in what that looks like. But in terms of picking a company, I mean, I think that you have to have a passion for whatever you're doing or whoever you're working with. I love working for Cozy. It's the best company I've ever been at, and it's simply because the culture is amazing and the passion is amazing. But I didn't know that going in, and it's really hard to see what a company's culture is like. But just follow them closely, try to get to know them, and then find out what the owners do. I mean, are they involved? Are they in a heavy metal band, and that might be awesome? Or are they, in a knitting club, or, there's other things that you might have a passion for also? Could you connect with them there? And then as you continue to build that relationship, just nurture it like crazy. Don't ever turn down, a possible connection, because this entire industry, regardless of what your niche is built on relationships. So nurture everything.
I love it, Lucas. That's perfect advice to end on. And I'm just so thankful that you came on the show and shared your story. Very inspirational. Lots of great advice too. Where can people find you, or where would you recommend people go to learn more about you and what you have going on?
Yeah, check out landlordology.com and cozy.co. That's cozy.co.
Awesome. Lucas, you rock. Thanks so much. And just fantastic. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Pat.
Awesome. All right. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Lucas Hall, again, from landlordology.com and cozy.co. Seems like just fantastic relationship there. And I'm actually going to be using those resources likely in the near future, like I said in the intro. Hey, I'd also like to take a moment to tell you about ShipStation, which is sponsoring this episode. I love ShipStation and the idea behind them. You know, if you ship anything online, you sell stuff, it can be quite difficult to manage all that. Well, ShipStation is the one-stop shop for all your shipping needs because here's what they do. They become the bridge between where you sell. It could be anywhere, Etsy, Amazon, WooCommerce, on Shopify, wherever. They take and import all that information into one easy-to-use interface, and then they'll help you choose the right carrier to get the lowest rate for every package. Super cool. They think of everything for people who are shipping online. Even, I know they have a feature where you get your own branded sort of where's my package page. So if an email gets sent out to people and they want to click to see their tracking, it doesn't go to the carrier. It goes to a page that's branded to you thanks to ShipStation. It's so cool. And if I'm going to do any shipping online, I would have it done in a very easily managed way, like with ShipStation. So here's what the deal is. If you go to ShipStation.com, you can actually try it out for 30 days for free, and you get a 30-day extension on that, an additional month free. If you go to ShipStation.com and then click on the microphone at the top and then type in SPI. So again, ShipStation.com, click on the microphone at the top and type in SPI. So thank you again. We have a lot of great content scheduled and recorded and ready for you in the upcoming weeks, including another success story next week that, actually in the headline, it's a not-so-overnight entrepreneurial success story with so-and-so. So we'll introduce that person to you. She's awesome, and she's actually teaching English online as a second language, and it definitely didn't happen overnight, and that's the point of all this, because we have to understand that this stuff doesn't happen with the click of a button. There's a lot that leads up to it, but it can be done, and you can make massive changes in your life and the lives of those who you serve online. And until the next episode, just want to thank you again. And make sure, if you haven't done so already, I haven't mentioned this in a while, go ahead and go to smartpassiveincome.com/app. Yeah, APP. Because you can download an app, a smartphone app for your Android or your iOS device that allows you to get all of the SPI content across all the different channels. This is the blog, the podcasts, including Ask Pat, and this one, and SPI TV as well, all in one spot. You can click to favorite your favorite episodes or pieces of content so you can come back to them later, and it's just a great experience for you to get SPI on the go. So again, you can check that out at smartpassiveincome.com/app. Thanks so much. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast at www.smartpassiveincome.com.
Hey there, quick pause here because I have to tell you about a tool that completely transforms the podcasting workflow, Riverside. I get it. I used to juggle multiple platforms just to record one podcast episode. It was exhausting. Zoom for recording, Audacity for editing, and then a bunch of different apps just to create clips and social posts. I've tried other ones as well. They were okay, but they were clunky and super time-consuming. That's where Riverside has massively helped. I can do it all in one place: recording, editing, repurposing, one platform, one streamlined flow. I just log in, record with my guests no matter where they are in the world, and just like that, studio-quality audio and high-resolution video all in one. And get this, even if your Wi-Fi glitches, Riverside records locally on your device so everything sounds and looks crystal clear. But here's my favorite feature, Riverside's AI editing tool. You can remove silences and filler words with just one click, hours saved. With Magic Clips, Riverside also automatically finds the best moments and turns them into ready-to-post videos for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, all without the extra editing. So if you're looking to level up your production quality and simplify your workflow, go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. It's built by creators for creators, and I think you're going to love it. More people dream about building their own business and being their own boss rather than retiring early. But a majority of them never even take the first steps to register the business. Why? Because starting a business can feel overwhelming. With legal forms, paperwork, finances, it's a lot. And that's where Taylor Brands comes in. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal and business assets separate from day one. From there, you can get access to everything you need to get off the ground, from legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, our listeners get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. Just head to tailorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Tailor Brands.